What happens when your god decides to abandon you? Temples ablaze under a crimson sky, priests screaming, clutching turquoise beads. A massive serpent shedding feathers, slithering away. A lone figure on a burning raft sailing toward a blood-red sunrise. They called him Quetzalcoatl, the Feathered Serpent. A god who walked among mortals. But why did he leave, and where did he go? They say he wept as the flames consumed his temples. Not from fear, but from the weight of what he'd done. His footprints turned to ash, yet the wind still followed him. The people begged for answers, but the gods were silent. He had given them knowledge, maize, the calendar, the stars. But some say pride crept into his heart, or betrayal into his court. A mirror, a trick, a night of shame, the details blur in smoke. All that's certain, he cast off his crown and walked east, toward the sea, toward the sun, toward a promise only he remembered. In Talon the world had never been so bright. Glittering pyramids, markets filled with cacao, jade, and brightly woven textiles. Dancers in hummingbird feather capes. Children learning to read glyphs on codices. Quetzalcoatl wearing white cotton robes, turquoise earrings, a serpent-shaped scepter. He teaches astronomy, medicine, agriculture, and forbids human sacrifice. Imagine building a world of peace, and seeing it torn down from within. Whispers grew like weeds in the shadow of greatness. Jealous gods stirred. His mercy was a threat to their hunger. Tezcatlipoca arrived in smoke and mirrors, smiling with poisoned teeth. He offered visions, temptations, truths twisted just enough to taste divine. One night, a mirror showed Quetzalcoatl not wisdom, but weakness. Drunken laughter. A priestess's arms. A broken vow. By dawn, Talon trembled, its god ashamed, its people confused. The serpent shed his feathers, not in glory but in exile. He left behind temples and tears. Because even a god cannot escape the weight of a single mistake. But his brother would not forgive peace. Tezcatlipoca, dressed in black obsidian mirrors. A smoking mirror in his hand. Eyes glitter with ruthless jealousy. He poisons the minds of priests. He is weakening us. He has stolen the will of the gods. Quetzalcoatl resists, but shadows creep. Then came the night that changed everything. A feast, laced with trickery, pulque flowing like truth turned sour. A mirror placed before him, not to reflect, but to wound. In it, Quetzalcoatl saw not a god, but a broken man. Shame wrapped around him like serpents with no feathers. That night, in a haze of sorrow, he crossed the line he swore never to tread. By morning, his temples stood silent, his priests in mourning. Tezcatlipoca watched from the shadows, smiling as the world unraveled. The people cried out, confused, had their god fallen, or been betrayed? And so Quetzalcoatl, once radiant, fled east. Not chased by enemies but by his own reflection. Brother turned brother against himself. Tezcatlipoca offers pulque, a sacred fermented drink. Quetzalcoatl, grieving, drinks. In a haze, he sleeps with a priestess, violating his vow of purity. He awakens to horror. Villagers point, ashamed. Priests revolt. What happens when a god feels shame? He could stay and fight, or vanish forever. He walks through Talon, veiled in silence as children avert their eyes. The temples he raised now feel like tombs. Feathers fall from his cloak with each step. His divinity unraveling. The sacred serpents coil away, no longer recognizing their master. Drums beat not in reverence but in warning. Even the wind seems to whisper, unworthy, unclean. Tezcatlipoca watches from atop the pyramid, victorious without lifting a blade. Quetzalcoatl lights the funeral pyre, not for a body but for an era. He boards a raft of serpents and fire heading east. Not to escape death, but to become legend. Quetzalcoatl, weeping, leaves Talon. He refuses to kill his rivals. He takes a conch shell, the symbol of his voice, as his farewell. Abandoned pyramids. Ivy reclaiming temples. Fire dies in censers. He was gone, but what he left behind would never be forgotten. The wind carried his name through empty courtyards. Elders spoke of a time when gods walked gently. Children drew feathered serpents in the dust, dreaming of his return. The stars above Talon shifted as if mourning his absence. Tezcatlipoca ruled, but no joy echoed from his temples. Fear is loud, but it does not sing. Far across the sea, flames flickered on the horizon, a raft swallowed by dawn. Some say he burned and rose into the sky as Venus, the morning star. Others say he waits in the east, watching, remembering. Because gods do not die, they are reborn in the stories we refuse to forget. Quetzalcoatl wanders through forests, deserts, lakes. He teaches villagers to plant maize, to heal, to respect the earth. He defeats monsters with a scepter of wind, shield of lightning. Was he still a god, or just a man? Corn sprouting as he passes. Birds swirling around him. Villagers kneeling, painting feathers on their faces. But even gods cannot run from destiny. He left no temples, only footprints and flourishing fields. Rain followed his song. Thunder answered his sorrow. He healed the sick, then vanished before they could thank him. Children whispered his name into the wind, and it whispered back. Each village called him by a different name: God, healer, stranger, star. But his eyes always looked east, toward something he could not escape. The sky began to change, omens etched in fire and eclipse. Dreamers saw serpents coiled around the sun. He knew the time was nearing, the end or the return. And so, with heavy breath, he built his final fire. Tezcatlipoca haunts him in dreams. You will never outrun your guilt. Visions of Talon burning. Quetzalcoatl almost returns, but sees the morning star rise. The sun sets on a broken world, but will rise again. He stands at the edge of the world where sea swallows sky. Smoke coils from the pyre, not destruction but transformation. He casts his serpent scepter into the waves, a farewell to war. The conch shell he carried hums one last breath, then is silent. Flames wrap around him, yet he does not scream. Feathers burn, bones crack, and light pours from within. Above, Venus pierces the twilight, not a star but a promise. The people say he became the morning star to guide the worthy home. He did not die. He ascended. And somewhere beyond the horizon, he waits, to return when the world is ready. Quetzalcoatl reaches the eastern sea. He builds a raft of snakes and precious wood, sets it aflame, symbol of rebirth. As he drifts away, transforms into the morning star. But is he truly gone? Some say the waves swallowed him whole, yet left no ashes. Others claim his light rose before dawn, brighter than ever before. Fishermen speak of a glowing figure walking on water at sunrise. Feathers fall with the tide, untouched by flame. In the sky, the morning star appears before each new day, not as a memory but a question. Will he return when the world forgets kindness? When knowledge is feared and sacrifice returns? He left no throne, no sword, only a path. And those who follow it still hear wings in the wind. I will return one day, when the people remember their hearts. Villagers guard his symbols: feathered headdresses, wind-carved stones, and jade serpent idols. Priests debate. Was he man or god? Some say he never left at all. They say his breath rides the wind before storms. His voice echoes in the rustling of maize. Children dream of a glowing figure wrapped in feathers and flame. Elders leave offerings at dawn, facing east where his star still rises. Conquerors came with steel and fire, but even they feared his name. For prophecy cannot be burned, only buried. Some say he walks among us, disguised as a teacher, a traveler, a spark of truth. Not to rule but to remind. And when the world stands on the edge once more, the feathered serpent may yet return, not from the sky, but from within us. Generations later, children hear the tale by a campfire. Will he come back? The elder smiles. He is here whenever we act with courage and peace. Sunrise behind an ancient pyramid. Feathered serpent mosaics glint in the light. His name still echoes through time. And one day, the feathered serpent may rise again. Smoke curls into the sky, carrying stories older than stone. Drums begin to beat, steady like the pulse of the earth. The children listen, wide-eyed, as firelight dances on their faces. Somewhere, a wind stirs the trees, soft but full of memory. In the east, the morning star still burns, patient watching. Not a god waiting for worship, but a promise waiting to be kept. Feathers drift across the temple steps, though no bird is seen. And in their dreams, the children see him, cloaked in light, smiling. The world changes. Empires rise and fall. But the feathered serpent never truly sleeps. Cornfields swaying in wind. Eagle warriors dancing in modern Mexico City skyline with a serpent mural. If you believe stories shape us, share this legend. Like, comment, and subscribe, because myths never die.